So, hello everybody and welcome. Yes, welcome back here at BSN Network. Welcome back here, BSN Network. This is the BSN Network podcast here today. It is Tuesday, August 24th. Hopefully everybody's having a day so far and a good rest of their day yesterday. It is, in fact, Tuesday, August 24th here today, coming off of another New York Yankee win last night, as they get the job done 3-1, or 5-1 rather, against the Atlanta Braves, and 10 in a row. I mean, just stacking up wins, getting wins, and wins, and wins, and wins, and 10 in a row. And that's all I really could say about that. And they come through with more big hitting. Stanton with a 3 RBI game. Sanchez with 2 big runs on his single that he drove in. I mean, just massive the way we are hitting with runners in scoring position and our situational just overall play. It is so much better, and it really is crazy the difference between this team back in early July and June and May to now, where we're getting situational hits, we're hitting with runners in scoring position, we're making plays on defense, we're doing so many things right. I mean, as they always say, things are clicking right now. I mean, like, you could say that, like, everything's clicking. Like, everything that should be clicking is clicking right now for the New York Yankees, and yet another win last night. So today we'll face off against the Braves. We go for the little 2-game sweep, nothing major. I mean, you go for the sweep today, but it's not like a 4-game sweep or a 3-game sweep, since it's only National League play. It's only a 2-game series. So 2 games today, or 1 game today, 2 games for the total series. You got to hope for the sweep today. But, hey, I mean, if you're a Yankee fan today, don't want to get too ahead of yourself. Don't want to start, imagining all these things and saying this and saying that. If you're a fan of a, sport team, you got to realize you got to take it game by game. So there's a lot of Yankee fans getting ahead of themselves and, already looking ahead to the Oakland series and saying things like that. I understand, I'm looking forward to that series too, but you got to take it game by game, right? We still got another game today against a very good Braves team, and we got to get the job done. So really, really good play right now. And, we look like a complete team right now, and we look like a true playoff World Series contending team. It's the truth. It really does. So it's great to see. Yankees get the win last night, play today against the Braves, game 2 of the 2-game set. We'll wrap up their series tonight. Mets open up a 3-game series against the Giants. This is kind of the last stretch of their gauntlet. We'll see, if they could finish out and go take 2 out of 3 or even 1 game. We'll see. But the Mets finish out what we call the gauntlet of their schedule. And then they'll get it some easy games with the Nationals. I believe maybe the Marlins mixed in there. So then they'll get back down to earth and start playing well. But, it's kind of, they've already dug themselves in a really deep hole. So are they going to be able to get themselves out of that hole by the time the end of the season comes, and by the time really playoffs roll around? We'll see. So Mets open up a 3-game set today against the Giants. Yankees end their series today against the Braves. Day off for the Yankees as well. Day off for the Yankees tomorrow on Wednesday. Then they'll head out to Oakland for 4. And that's a big series. And like I said, it's not that I'm not looking forward to that, but we still got another game today. So let's focus on this game today. I'm going to get to the Yankees. I am going to talk a lot ahead of the game and talk about the upcoming series and talk about overall chances. But right now, the Yankees are playing really good baseball. So it's great to see. So Yankees and Mets today. And, preseason football was on last night. Saints blew out the Jaguars. Other than that, though, no preseason football on this today. I'm trying to think if there's even anything else on other than I don't think there's any other preseason until, Thursday, Friday, and then into the weekend. So, then it's regular season. But let's get to the topics for today's podcast. A lot to get to, as always. I wanted to first start off with a football topic today. Then we'll get to the Yankees' 10-game win streak. Spoiler, I had to talk about that. I'm not going to just let that slide. But today I want to get to Dak Prescott injury. So the Cowboys are in an interesting situation. And Adam Schefter reported yesterday that Dak Prescott could be bothered by injuries throughout the 2021 season. So this is terrible news if you're a Dallas Cowboy fan, a Dak Prescott fan, or any fan like that. This is terrible news. And the Cowboys right now are in a very interesting situation with their quarterback. And they got to find a way to get out of this. Whether that's whether that's maybe sitting Dak down a little bit and making sure he's ready. But Dak's got a rare shoulder injury for a quarterback that is it's a baseball injury. It's really what an MLB pitcher would get, but he has that as a quarterback. So it really affects him. He's not what a lot of people believe is he's not the same guy, and he could be lingered by this all season long. I'll get into this, get into the Cowboys, and get into the whole situation revolving the organization because, Dak now, coming off a season last season, we had a brutal injury. Then you come back this year, and now you're all of a sudden you're lingering with injuries. Before last year and before the beginning of this year, he never got injured. So is this a sign of things to come? I'll get into all that, talk about the Cowboys, all that in the first topic. And in the second topic, I want to get into the Yankees' 10-game win streak. Like I said, I'm not going to let that thing slide. I'm not just going to be like, it's a 10-game win streak. All right, 10 games. Yankees have not had a 10-game win streak this season. The last time we had a 10-game win streak was last season, September, or maybe it was September, I don't know. But it was last season. And I remember that 10-game win streak from last year. It might have been towards the end of the season. I'm not sure, but I remember it because I think we were close to getting eliminated, or not eliminated, but we were really slumping, and then we started going on this massive roll, and we ended up making the playoffs, as we all know the result, but still, it's, 10-game win streak. A 10-game win streak is a 10-game win streak. And it's great. It's awesome. 10 games in a row we've won. So it's great. It's great to see. And the Yankees go for 11 tonight. So we'll get to that. Then we'll finish off the podcast with the New York Sports Update. As always, the usual New York Sports Update, fantasy, baseball will also be in there, as we all know. Yankees, Giants today, fantasy baseball, and then much, much more. Like I said, NFL does not play. I don't think NFL starts until next week, or no, later on this week, rather. Preseason week 3 starts Friday. So Jets play on Friday, Colts Lions Friday, Panthers Steelers Friday, Chiefs Vikings Friday, and then Saturday and Sunday are all the rest of the games. And then that's it for preseason. And then you got week 1 of the NFL season. So yeah. So there is a lot of football coming up. Not today though, but we'll see. All right. So with all that being said, this is the BSN podcast, and let's get right into it. So, Schefter, Cowboys' Dak Prescott could be bothered by injuries throughout 2021 season. Yes, you have heard that right. And the Cowboys are yet again in another weird scenario, weird situation, as Dak Prescott, their star quarterback, now could have injuries that could linger throughout the 2021 season. And, we all know every year, going into every NFL season, right, the Cowboys are always on your list of teams that has potential, but they never come through. Recently, they've had some great rosters, they've had some great receivers and all that stuff. They haven't been able to come through. Michael Gallup, CeeDee Lamb, Amari Cooper, Elliott, you go to Prescott. Their offensive line has been awesome for many, many years. Now, their offensive line isn't the same it was a couple years ago, but it still is a solid offensive line. And it's pretty crazy that, every year with this roster and with this team, they somehow find a way to underachieve every single year. Last season, they failed to make the playoffs. The year before that, right? All these years and have all this talent on this roster and all that stuff, the Cowboys always find a way to underachieve. And now this is another obstacle in the road for the Dallas Cowboys, as their star quarterback, Dak Prescott, could have a shoulder injury that could linger throughout the 2021 season. And that's a big issue, because we saw last season what the Cowboys did without Dak Prescott. Sure, Andy Dalton had some moments. I'm not saying that, but he had some moments. He did his job. What were Cowboys fans expecting? Andy Dalton to go out there and throw for 30 touchdowns and 5 interceptions and 4,000 yards? No. But he had his moments. I don't think many people expected Andy Dalton to be this anything crazy quarterback. But we saw when the Dallas Cowboys lose Dak Prescott, how much of an impact it makes on that team. And that's with a lot of teams. When you lose your starting quarterback, it makes a big impact. It's a lot of teams. We've seen this all the time throughout the NFL, where a team will lose its star quarterback, lose its quarterback in general, star or not, lose a quarterback, and they won't be the same team for the rest of the season, and depending on how the quarterback's injury is and when he comes back, they might not be the same for the next season as well. And that's kind of the situation we're in right now with the Dallas Cowboys. Like what I just said, they weren't the same last year without Dak Prescott, and now this season with a lingering injury, they might not be the same as well. Okay? The Cowboys are not a good defensive team. We know that. They are an awful defensive team. What the Cowboys are an offensive team that's going to win in shootouts, but when it comes down to close games and making defensive stops, they're going to lose. When it comes to shootouts and, scoring game-winning touchdowns, Cowboys all day. But when it comes to close games and making a defensive stop, Cowboys can't do that. And we've seen that the past couple years. Cowboys have arguably one of the worst defenses in all of the NFL. Arguably one of the worst secondaries in all of the NFL. And now with Dak Prescott possibly having another injury, we saw the toll of it last season. Without Prescott, without a dominant offense, are the Cowboys yet again heading into another season full of losing and underachieving? Because the defense isn't going to win this team football games. It's one of these rare times where it's the offenses and the quarterback that's going to win you games. Because when Dak Prescott's not out there or Dak Prescott's not 100%, this Cowboys team is not the same, and it's not even close to winning an NFC East title. So, right before the season, some terrible news for the Dallas Cowboys. And are we heading up this road again? Where you go into the year, high expectations, playoffs, NFC East, contenders. But now, with a lingering injury from Prescott, this could cause another underachieving season for the Dallas Cowboys. And it seems like we've had about 3 or 4 of these in the past 5 years. So, Cowboys got to get this thing figured out. If Prescott's really hurt and he's not going to be 100%, you got to go out and get somebody that can at least win you some football games. You can't stick with Cooper Rush and Ben DiNucci. Or if Ben DiNucci's even out there, I don't even know if he's on the team anymore. I don't even know. Right? I mean, you got to figure out something. I mean, Jerry Jones said the other day that if they would feel perfectly fine with Dak Prescott lining up out there against the Buccaneers if this was Thursday Night Football. And he's going to say that, right? He's not going to sit there and say, oh, well, I don't know what his future is going to hold with the season. I don't know if he might need shoulder surgery. I don't know what. I mean, I'm not trying to be negative, but I'm just saying, Jerry Jones is going to say that. No owner is going to say that, in all fairness. No coach is going to sit there and say, oh, I don't think he's going to be available. Or, oh, I think this is going to be an injury that's going to last him this whole year. Okay, no one's going to say that. But I think it's kind of obvious. I think we all know that there is an issue with Dak Prescott. I mean, there is an issue with him. I mean, there's a serious issue with Dak Prescott. Okay, this is a guy who had a shoulder injury in training camp. He's never really been the same. He's throwing. He's done some light throwing and all that stuff. But he hasn't really played in games. In practice, he's not throwing the ball deep. He's doing a lot of checkdowns. A lot of beat reporters for the Dallas Cowboys say that he's not throwing with much power. Okay, he's clearly nursing something. Whether that's a shoulder, an elbow, an arm, whatever it is. He's clearly nursing something. And for an offense that relies so much on the deep ball, with Prescott throwing deep to receivers like Lamb, Gallup, Cooper, all deep ball threats, this is a big issue. And he's, like I said, he's got an injury what baseball players would have. It's a type of a shoulder injury. But it's not a injury where, it's not an injury where rest is just going to help it. It might need something more than just rest. And that's a bad news for the Dallas Cowboys. And are we heading into another one of these seasons where the expectations are high, they got the weapons, they got the talent, but are they going to have another 8-9 or 9? They never went 8-9, but are they going to have an 8-9, 7-10 season? And are they going to miss the playoffs again? And now all of a sudden, Dak went from not being injury prone at all to having a major injury last season and now having a shoulder issue. And I do think some of the shoulder issue could be, and this is a lot of times problems with quarterbacks, When you come off of a gruesome injury and a terrible injury like Dak Prescott had, and it's great to see him back. You're a Cowboy fan or not a Cowboy fan. If you hate the Cowboys or love the Cowboys, I think us as NFL fans are going to agree that Dak Prescott injury was terrible. And if you didn't care, if you didn't think that injury was that bad, well, shame on you, because it was an awful injury. It was terrible to see. If you were sitting there happy that he got injured, that is terrible. But either way, back to my point. I think we all agree that the Dak Prescott injury was awful. You never want to see that. Bones sticking out of someone's leg, that's awful. You never want to see that. It's terrible. It could be a career-altering injury. Look what happened to Alex Smith. Luckily, Dak Prescott's wasn't as bad as Alex Smith's, but still, it could have been bad. It was really bad. And, I always say this, right? Sometimes quarterbacks, and you see this a lot of times with players, sometimes the first thing, you saw Alex Smith, he said the first thing he was worried about was taking a hit, from his injury, because that's how he got injured. He was a sack, and the first thing he worried about was taking a hit. Prescott's not really the same way. He hasn't really come out and said all that stuff, like on interviews and said that. But I feel like Prescott, in a way, might be a little afraid to use his lower half. And I mean that I don't mean that in a stupid way. I mean it in this way. Like, he might be a little worried to really get under his ball and really just, use his lower half and launch that thing downfield. He might be worried that he's going to injure his ankle or something like that again. And he might be using too much arms. And he might be trying to throw too much using too much arms and not any lower half. I mean, people, we all know, your lower half is pretty much what delivers your strength. It's not your arm. It's not really your arm. You could throw the ball, but once you get your lower half involved, that's really how you deliver your arm strength. In baseball, pitchers, it's how you get velocity. Football, it's how you throw the ball deeper deeper downfield, and how you throw the ball also with velocity. Everyone thinks it's your arm. It's not really. It's your lower half. So that could be an issue. He might be trying to nurse his lower half too much, be worried a little bit to really use his lower half and use his, feet and all that stuff. And it might be causing him to throw a lot, which kind of flat-footed and putting a lot too much stress on his shoulder. And now this is where the injury occurs. And it's a big issue. And if it's going to linger all season, then the Cowboys got to figure a solution. And I'm not saying go out and trade for a quarterback or all that stuff. But if you can, find a way to go out and maybe sign a backup, maybe trade for a guy like Foles. I'm not saying you got to do that. But if Prescott week 5 is, 7 touchdowns, 7 picks, not much yards, Cowboys are 1-4, and they're doing nothing, and the media keeps saying, oh, Dak's okay, but he's clearly not okay, Cowboys aren't going to be able to turn around their season at that point. So the Cowboys are going to make the decision. They got to be ready. They got to be ready because Dak's clearly not 100%. He's not 100% at training camp. He's not throwing the ball 100%. There's clearly something wrong with him. And the Cowboys got to step up to the plate and recognize that and do something about it. They could sit here all they want into the media and say, oh, he's all right, he's okay. But, it's kind of obvious. He's not the same quarterback at the training camp. And maybe he's not going 100%. But it really seems like there could be something wrong with Dak Prescott and his shoulder. And it seems like it's a baseball injury, which causes more chaos because he's not a baseball player. So he's going to have to kind of get he's got a baseball injury for a football player, which could completely derail his season. Now, let me be fair here. Throwing a football in baseball is, same arm movement thing as that. Throwing a football, you're more out here. Baseball, you're more over the top. But still, it's the same type movement and same type of mechanics and stuff like that. It's a little different. Number one, you're throwing a baseball, and number two, you're throwing a football. Football, you're a little more out here. Baseball, you're more over the top. You don't really see a guy throwing a football like this. You more see him throwing a football like this. Baseball is more over the top. But either way, I'm not going to sit here and tell you all that. But it's, for a guy that's got a baseball type injury, for a football player, there's an issue. It's an issue. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe everyone's wrong. I wouldn't be I wouldn't be surprised if he's out there and he's throwing great and this was all kind of just a little bit of a hoax. But what I will tell you is this is what I should tell you what I will tell you is this is if there is a serious injury there, Cowboys got to do something. And I shouldn't say serious injury, but if there's something that's clearly wrong there, Cowboys got to step up to the plate and do something. Because if you're going to throw him out there week by week and he's not 100%, that's going to hurt your team. Because I'll tell you this, I'm going to tell you it again, and we'll get to an article. Okay? Dak Prescott's this Cowboys team. Okay? He is. when Dak Prescott gets removed, this Cowboys team's done. And you could say that about 95% of the teams across the NFL. When their starting quarterback gets removed, their season's done. But it's especially for the Dallas Cowboys because their defense is awful. At least some other teams, if their quarterbacks either struggling, B, hurt, or whatever, whatever the case may be, some other teams have really good defenses that can kind of, do the job do the job. But the Cowboys don't have that defense. Like, if Dak Prescott would go down for an extended amount of time, you're talking about the Cowboys season being done. Because then they're not going to have a quality quarterback out there. The receiving core is injury prone, let's be honest here. Amari Cooper was a little bit of injury prone. Michael Gallup, CeeDee Lamb, not really, but we'll see how their careers all go. And you can't rely on defense. I know you went out and got Micah Parsons and all that stuff, and that's all great. I believe Micah Parsons is going to be a solid player in the league. But overall, it's not Micah Parsons not just going to turn this defense around as a rookie. Maybe 3 years from now, he might be the game changer. But right now, he's a rookie. He's not just going to take this defense and transform it into a top 5 defense in the league. So, I don't think that, there might not be another team out there that would hurt as much as the Cowboys would to lose their starting quarterback. Because there's a lot of other teams out there. I mean, look at the Bears, for example. They had Mitch Trubisky last season. How did they make the playoffs? Well, number one, the NFC East is not very good, or the NFC East, but that too. But the NFC is not very good last season. It was a little weaker, even though the Super Bowl champion came out of the NFC, but all that stuff. But the Bears have a really good defense. So their defense was able to make stops, make big plays, get turnovers, even though their quarterback and their situation and their offense wasn't great. You go to the Eagles, for example. They had a really good defense the year they won a Super Bowl. Now, sure, Nick Foles was good, but they lost their MVP candidate in Carson Wentz that year. But their defense was really good, and Nick Foles did his job. But for the Cowboys, it's Dak Prescott goes down. Well, it's Cooper Rush under center and a very bad defense. So, I don't know. I think you're going to have Dak play through it. Dak's going to have to find a way. Whatever the case may be, this is a very interesting situation for the Dallas Cowboys. And this is a big problem if it does linger all throughout the year. Because their defense is terrible. It's their offense that carries the team and carries the load. And we know that. All right, so Schefter, Cowboys, Dak Prescott could be bothered by injuries throughout 2021 season. Dallas Cowboys quarterback Dak Prescott may operate at less than 100% this season as he continues to recover from last year's ankle injury and his recent shoulder ailment, according to ESPN's Adam Schefter. He's not fully back. He may not be back all season long, Schefter said Friday during ESPN's broadcast of a preseason game. Prescott has been dealing with a right latissimus strain suffered during training camp that has limited him in practices and kept him out of the preseason games. Head coach Mike McCarthy said this week there is a good chance he probably won't play in the preseason as the team prepares for the September 9th opener against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Prescott is also coming off an ankle injury that ended his 2020 season after just 5 games. Now, I will make this clear. I don't believe this is anything to do with the ankle injury. I did mention earlier that I think maybe he was trying too much to throw a lot more arms, not use his lower body as much. Not getting around in the pocket as much, not being mobile as much, kind of trying to just get the ball and throw it, and maybe that's giving a lot more stress on his shoulder. But that's all in correlation to shoulder. I don't think his ankle's the reason. I don't think his ankle's injured. I think if anything, he's just a little worried to go out, get some runs, slide, take a hit or two, right? I think that he might just be a little worried, which is completely fine. I mean, after the injury he had to go through, I could see why, but in general here, you gotta. So I don't really think it's the ankle as much as it is the shoulder. I think the ankle, if you follow, it might be a little confusing, but I think it's the ankle is more so is more of a mind thing. Like he might just be a little worried to run. I don't think it's that it hurts. I think he's just a little worried to run with it. But the shoulder is actually seems like it's actually injured. And there's no doubt that he's just strained. It's just a matter of how bad it really is. The 28-year-old has been a star when healthy, earning 2 Pro Bowl selections and tallying 4,902 passing yards and 30 touchdowns in 2019, his last full season. Last year, he was averaging an incredible 371.2 passing yards per game before his injury. It was enough to earn a 4-year, $160 million extension in the offseason. The quarterback does believe he will be able to play during the regular season and wanted to complete compete during the team's joint practice with the Los Angeles Rams last week. I feel like I could go out there, especially when you had the crowd going and the excitement. Your adrenaline's rolling, and you hate missing a day like this. Prescott said per Tom Pelissero of NFL Network, but I feel great and I will be ready when it really matters. The Cowboys don't have much in the way of experienced backups with Garrett Gilbert starting number 2 on the depth chart. So Garrett Gilbert actually is the backup. I completely messed up there. But, I mean, he did say here, in all fairness to Dak, he did say, but I feel great and I'll be ready when it really matters. So he could say that. All I'm saying is it could still linger him. He could be the same quarterback, but this could be something the Cowboys revisit next offseason. Whether or not, maybe he has shoulder issues. But like I said, I'm not sitting here and thinking that he's going to be sidelined for weeks and weeks and weeks. I'm just saying that, come week 1, if he's not 100%, this Cowboys season could go from having good possibility of getting to the playoffs to all of a sudden being down there. Because I said it. When Dak Prescott's not out there, we saw last season, Dak Prescott has a major impact on this team. This team is Dak Prescott. It's Dak Prescott. It's the Dallas Prescotts. It's not the Dallas Cowboys. It's Dallas Prescotts. Because when he's not out there, this team is totally different. It is what it is. And so, we'll see how the season goes. But, this could be an issue if it's bothered by him all season. But, hey. When he's healthy, when he's out there, I think he's a top 10 quarterback in the NFL. And I'm not doubting that. I'm just saying. And I like Dak Prescott a lot. I do. I think a lot of people out there don't like him just because he's with the Cowboys and all that stuff. But he's a really cool player. I like Dak Prescott a lot. He's talented. And I like him a lot. So, as much as, I am sitting here and saying, well, there might be, some issues with his arm and stuff, I like him a lot. And I still think he can have a very good year. I'm just saying, if it is what we think it is, there could be maybe some lingering things. But last season, he played 5 games. Like I said, everyone's calling him injury-prone all of a sudden. I know I kind of used that phrase a little bit earlier. I don't believe he's injury-prone yet. His first 4 years, he did not miss a game. Last season, he played 5 games due to the gruesome ankle injury. This season, now he's got a shoulder. So, yeah, it's starting to line up like, is he all of a sudden going to be injury-prone, and he is 30, and he is 28 years old, but I don't really think there's any, I wouldn't consider him injury-prone yet. Now, sure, if his shoulder injury becomes a massive problem where he can't play, the next season he has another injury, then you could say that's 3 years in a row. But right now, after one injury and now a little bit of a lingering issue, I wouldn't call him injury-prone. Yeah, and I know a lot of people just want to jump to the gun and say, he's injury-prone all of a sudden. You can't call someone injury-prone if they get 2 injuries in their career. If someone's injured every other year or, I don't know, their first 5 years of their career, 3 of those seasons they couldn't play the full year, that's injury-prone. Or even in college if they were injury-prone, you even look at baseball. Aaron Judge has recently been injury-prone. Now, knock on wood, this season he's been very good, but he's been injury-prone recently. Same thing with Stan, same thing with a lot of guys. Same thing in football. If you look at, 10 seasons, and 6 of those 10 seasons, you could only play 12 to 14 games because you were injured. That's injury-prone. He had 1 season where he didn't play it the whole year because he had a gruesome ankle injury. That's injury-prone. That's not injury-prone, rather. And it's kind of tough, too, to say he's injury-prone because that injury was completely out of control. I mean, he got tackled. I mean, it's not like it wasn't like a strain or where he made a cut and he, blew out his Achilles, something like that. Those are things that are out of control as well, and injuries sometimes as well. Their injuries are all out of control, but his especially because I mean 9 times out of 10 when you get tackled, you're not gonna have a major issue. For him, he got unlucky, and he had a major injury there. His best season really came in 2019, where he threw for 4,902 yards, 30 touchdowns, and 11 picks. In his career, he's got 106 touchdowns and 40 interceptions. 7.7 is average, 17,634 yards. He's got a 66 completion percentage. I mean, you just see the impact he makes on this team. It's really big. I mean, he makes a massive impact on this team. And there's no other way to put it. He's got a career rate QBR of 78.7 and a career overall rating of 97.3. So you can't sit here and say, badmouth him when he's a good quarterback. I mean, there's no other. That's how much he has an impact on this team. He's a really good quarterback. And, When he's out there, he's a top 10 quarterback in the league. When he's healthy, he helps this team a ton. And, he has been able to stay healthy, but, now he's got a little bit of an issue with the shoulder. So we'll see how this all plays out. But, like I just said about 5 minutes ago, nobody really likes Prescott. Everybody hates him and hates this guy and this guy and this guy. And, I get it's the Cowboys, and I get it, America's team, and I get it, Jerry Jones and all that stuff. But I feel like a lot of sports, like fans out there just hate players for no reason. I can do that a little bit. I have a reason why I hate Tom Brady. He dominated my franchise for over a decade. But, there's guys out there that a lot of people just hate for no reason. They just I don't like that guy. And you ask them why, and they're just I don't like him. Prescott receives a lot of hate out there, and I think it's because he's on the Cowboys. I think it's because he's in a big market. The Cowboys are not a very liked team at all. I don't really care about the Cowboys. I'm a Jet fan. I'm in a completely different conference than them, so I don't really care about them. Whether I don't hate them. I don't love them. They don't really do anything to me because I'm a Jets fan. I'm not a Giant fan. I'm not an Eagle fan. I'm not a Washington fan. So Cowboys could do whatever they want. I'm a Jet fan. So I'm in a completely different conference than them. They don't really do it. They don't harm me in it. The Cowboys don't harm me in any way. Patriots do. But a lot of people just can't stand Prescott for no reason. I get it, he plays on the Cowboys, and I get it, the Cowboys are not a very liked team, but come on. He's not a bad guy at all. He's a good player. He's an exciting player to watch. He's fun to watch. And, he's a true difference maker. Because when he's out there, this team's a really solid team offensively. And when he's not, this team looks lost. So, we'll see how it all plays out. But, Dak looks like he might have a little bit of an injury that could be lingering. So, we'll see how this all plays out. All right, so that's what I got for Dak Prescott and his lingering injury there with the shoulder. Coming up next here, I want to get into the Yankees' 10-game win streak. Yes, the Yankees have won 10 in a row, and they are now 2.5 up in the wild card and still 4 back in the division. I'll get into the Yankees, get into their success, look a little bit ahead to the schedule and their whole and tonight's game as well. We'll get to all that coming up next. All right, so welcome back here. I'm just gonna say this just to start it off, okay? And I know that the Orioles are rebuilding, and I know this is a Yankee topic, but I just want to make this clear. The Orioles right now, listen to this. They are 38-85 on the season. That's a .309 winning percentage. 38 games back at first place. They're 17-40 at home and 21-45 on the road. Their run differential, this is what I think is crazy, plus the fact that they've lost 18 games in a row. Their run scored to runs allowed differential is negative 233. They've allowed 233 more runs than they have scored. If that doesn't warrant a coaching change, I don't know what does. The Orioles are taking steps back every year. They're on their way to their third 100-win season, or 100-loss season in the past 4 years. Oh my God, are they awful. They are a terrible team. It, frustrates me. I don't know how bad they can be. They are just a terrible, terrible baseball team. And they're not getting better. They're not. They're not getting better at all. I feel bad for Orioles fans out there that sit there every night and watch that game. Watch that product every night. They have the worst record in the MLB. Worst record in the MLB. The Arizona Diamondbacks have a better record. So, going by overall record in Major League Baseball, right now, the Yankees are 7.5 games back, like the San Francisco Giants have the best record. The Orioles, listen to this, are 41.5 games back at 38-52. And they are an 18-game losing streak. So they're on their way to possibly losing another game. It really is wild how bad they are. But, they're bad. They play the Angels. So, I believe the last time a team lost 19 in a row was, I don't know when. But the Orioles are and they're not getting better either. It is seriously concerning. Where are they going with this rebuild? They are not getting better. I just wanted to get that out of the way. Because night in and night out, when I see them lose and lose and lose, it's just terrible over there. I mean, if you're a Baltimore sports fan, I feel bad for you. And number two, you're lucky you got the Ravens because the Orioles are a terrible team. 18 games in a row. I mean, I know I went through my struggles this year with the Yankees and them losing and all that stuff, but not nearly as bad as losing 18 in a row. And by the way, not being competitive in those 18 games. 233 more runs allowed than they have runs scored. Like I said, I mean, where is this rebuild going for the Baltimore Orioles? Where is it going? I mean, they've not shown any progress whatsoever. And you could say that about the Diamondbacks, but Diamondbacks kind of just entered a rebuild 2 years ago. They were in the playoffs, 2 seasons ago or whatever? So it's kind of tough to say them. Tigers have been competitive this season. At least they've been competitive. They're 60 and 66 on the year. At least they've been competitive. And they're not completely sunk and they've only won 38 games. I mean, the Orioles might win 45 games this season. They might win 45 games at most. I mean, that's bad. They might not even reach the 50-win mark this year. So, I just wanted to get that out of the way. But now let's get to the Yankees. And the Yankees are on a little bit of a different note. They've won 10 in a row instead of lost 18. But Yankees find a way to win last night again, 5-1. So the Yankees now win 10 in a row. We're 73 and 52 on the season. And, you know, it really is crazy. I mean, I'm going to repeat myself, but it's... I don't know what else to say. I mean, it's almost like when we were losing a lot, I sounded like a broken record, but it's the same thing now. Like, we're winning a ton. This team's just a different team. I mean, we really are. We are in a more energetic team. We're a team that's more, into the game. We're a team that's hitting better with runners in scoring position. I mean, the runners in scoring position. And sure, we still have our moments, but you can't expect second and third one out every single time a team to convert. But for the Yankees who had a couple days ago, they showed that we, on Fox broadcast, the FS1 against the Twins, I think we had the lowest batting average in the MLB with runners in scoring position was like 221. But that could very well change, especially after last night and after recently as well. But either way, though, Yankees at the beginning of the season were awful with runners in scoring position. I mean, if you get second and third one out and you don't get a runner in, that's going to happen. You can't expect every time runner on second, 2 outs to get that runner in. Now, some teams, they're insane with runners in scoring position. You get a runner on first and third with 2 outs, they'll hit a double and drive in both those runs. But if you get a runner on third, no outs, sometimes you don't convert. It's just how it is. Especially if the other team brings in a new pitcher and all of a sudden you got weird matchups, but all in all. But the Yankees are completely different with runners in scoring position. I mean, they went from being awful, terrible, not scoring at all, second and third, nobody out, night in, night out, and not getting runs in, to now runner on second, 2 outs, and we get the runner to third, and then, there's a little bloop single, and we got the runner home. I mean, it really is crazy. I remember watching the Yankees games where you would watch, and this is back in June and July, and when we were really struggling, and we were really getting to that point where we were questioning what the future held for this team and this roster. And we would get a runner on second, 1 out, and you would fly out, or it would be second and third, nobody out. This happened a couple times. Second and third, nobody out. You would strike out. Then maybe there would be a fly out that wasn't deep enough to score the run, and there would be a ground out. It would be first and third, 1 out, and there's a double play. Now that's not the case. I mean, now that is not the case. Now we're talking about second and third, 1 out, and this team delivering with a big hit. I mean, Gary Sanchez coming up last night with the bases loaded was as big as it can get. And I'm going to tell you what, Gary Sanchez has been so hot cold this season. He's been cold recently. I still don't believe he's the catcher of the future. That's a different story, different day, though. He came through with a big hit. He beat the shift, and he hit a big single, and it scored 2 runs, and the Yankees found a way to win. So, I think this is really coming to life how big hitting with runners in scoring position is. And you see the teams like Dodgers and all the successful teams out there, they get those runners in. You can't be so boom or bust with a solo. If you hit 3 solo home runs, but if that other team hits 2 bases clearing doubles, it's a 6-3 game instead. So I don't think people realize the magnitude of hitting with runners in scoring position. Sure, hit 2 solo home runs. I mean, you could get that same amount. I mean, you could get more on a bases clearing double. And boy, Stan had a great game yesterday. He went 2 for 3 with 3 RBIs, a run scored. He did have a strikeout, but he had a great game, and we took him out. I don't know how I feel about us taking him out. It ended up working, but I was a little worried when we first took him out. I'm like, you're taking the biggest bat out of this lineup. This game, by the way, out of the lineup. Like, I was a little concerned. I was thinking, like, okay, what's going on here? Like, you're just taking him out. He's got 3 RBIs. At that point, that was all of our runs, but then Sanchez came through. He had a hit. He had the single with 2 RBIs, and that was big for him as well. And this is another thing, too, about the Yankees. All year we've been talking about how bad they are with runners in scoring position. I mean, you can't take it away. The Yankees get runners on. Let me go through each player's on-base percentage, okay? And let me just show you what's it like, okay? So on-base percentage for LeMahieu's 352, Rizzo's 344, Judge's 377, Gallo's 365, Stanton's 368, Loiza's obviously nothing. He hasn't batted. Voigt's 345. Peralta, Chapman, nothing. Those are just on this list here because it's the dumb National League. Sanchez, even though he's batting 218, his on-base percentage up there to 226. Odor, we know he's boomer bust. He's 293, not as good, but still for him that's solid considering last season he wasn't getting on. And Velasquez, it's tough to tell with him. He's 263, but he just caught up. He just got called up, obviously about 2 weeks ago, so he hasn't been up much. So even the amount of plate appearances you wouldn't really be able to calculate fully. And then Garner's had 330. Now, let me tell you, Velasquez had a really good game last night. He had that double. He had 2 really nice hits that got caught. I want the Yankees to keep Velasquez up. He brings energy to the table. He brings a lot of excitement. It's one of those guys that, even though he's young and even though he just got called up, in big situations, I've gained his trust. I have. He's one of those guys where he is, big moments in the game, big situation, big spots. I've started to trust him. When he first came up and, you get into all that and, first coming up and the nerves and stuff, sometimes it's tough for guys to come through. But with Velasquez, he's definitely, I think the Yankees are starting to trust him a lot more. And especially yesterday, he had a really nice double. And there's a couple really nice pieces that, you just can't do anything about. They got caught. That's baseball. But, he's been really good. And I'm telling you, whatever happened with this Yankee team, I think the Gallo-Rizzo signings are about 95% of it. But whatever the other 5% was, whether it was someone yelling or whether it was a player stepping up, and I know they had a players-only meeting, but that was back in, June. Whether it was, at the All-Star break, whether it was a full team meeting at the All-Star break, whether it was Boone getting into it, Cashman, whatever it was, it worked. And if they're doing something, keep it because it's working. So it's great. And last night, the scoring by inning, we got a run in the second, 2 in the sixth, 2 more in the eighth. We had 5 runs, 6 hits, and an error. The error was tough. Velasquez made a nice play. It was a weird bounce. It bounced and it just stayed down. It didn't bounce up. So it got under Rizzo's glove. Obviously, it didn't hurt us. Yesterday, the Braves had 1 run, 5 hits, and no errors. Montgomery got the win. He moves to 5-5. Montgomery didn't have his best stuff, but he got the job done. 5 innings, 1 earned, 2 strikeouts, 4 walks, and Oscar took the loss. He moves to 4-3 on the season. He threw 6 innings, 3 earned, 9 strikeouts, and a walk. So he did get a lot of strikeouts, which is what this Yankee lineup's going to do, but still, Yankees get the job done. And now today we go for the 2-game sweep. Andrew Heaney's on the mound for the Yankees, and Charlie Morton's on the mound for the Braves. So an interesting pitching matchup. You got Heaney, who's having a terrible year, and you got Morton. You got Charlie Morton, who was a big piece of the Rays team last season, but I don't know if he's been the exact same pitcher this season. Now, he's had a pretty solid year, but he's had a pretty solid year this year. Last year, he had his moments, but, this season he's actually had a pretty solid season this year, 3.47 ERA. That's 20th in the MLB. He's actually got tied 4th for the best win-loss record and tied 12th in the league for strikeouts, 16th in the league for whip. So he's been about a top 20 pitcher, top 15 pitcher in the league this year. He's 37. He's still getting the job done. Heaney, we all know, struggled, but Heaney is coming off a good start. He had a good start against Boston. And he did have a good start against Boston. 7 innings, 2 hits, 1 earned, 1 home run, 2 walks, 4 strikeouts. But, I still don't know if I don't really trust him at all. But, you got to hope that he's on tonight. So tonight's a big game. And you go for the little 2-game sweep tonight, and then you head out to Oakland for 4. And that's big. And then you head out to Los Angeles with the Angels for 3. And then you get the Orioles. And the Orioles, it's like, they might still be losing at that point. They might still be on a losing streak at that point. So this is actually interesting. No one's probably going to really mind, but this is actually pretty interesting. So since that Orioles loss, the night that cat, so remember the cat that ran onto Yankee Stadium? If you don't, I'm sure most people remember it. It happened. It was that Monday night game against the Orioles. It was that game where Rizzo and Gallo was their first big games, and the crowd and all that stuff. When we lost to the Baltimore Orioles 7-1. Since that, the Orioles are on the 18-game losing streak, and the Yankees have lost 1 game since that. So we're we've lost 2 games. So we're 10-2 since? No, we're way more than that. We're 16-2 since that or something like that. It's pretty wild what the Yankees have done since that and what the Orioles have done since that as well. So, it's big here. The Yankees are on a roll with 10-game win streak, and it was kind of funny. Since that cat, the Yankees have made a big difference. And we all remember, going into the All-Star break, really, Yankees had a 40% chance to make the playoffs. Well, now you look at it, 91.6% chance to make the playoffs. Higher percentage than both Boston and Toronto, and higher percentage than Oakland. Oakland now has a 23.2% chance to make the playoffs, and the Yankees have a 91.6%. So, Yankees went from being all the way at the bottom to just be on the outside looking in to now being 2.5 up in the wild card. And if the season would to end today, Yankees, Red Sox would be playing a wild card game at Yankee Stadium. And the Oakland A's are 1 game back of the Red Sox. So it's still open. And the Mariners, too, watch out. They went from being on the complete outside looking in. They're 3 games back from the wild card. And with the A's recently skidding a little bit, they've lost 3 in a row and they're 3-7 in their last 10. The Mariners are the opposite of that. They've won 2 in a row and they're 7-3 in their last 10. Watch out for the Seattle Mariners, because they're all of a sudden coming around the corner. The Blue Jays got back on track yesterday with a win. They won yesterday. They are still 3-7 in their last 10, but they're 4.5. That's really it. Indians, Angels, all seriously long shots. But hey, you win 8 out of your next 10, it's a completely different story, but I don't believe that will happen. So, right now as it stands, these are the 4 core teams. Yankees, Red Sox, Oakland, Mariners. And then you got the Blue Jays just on the outside looking in. And then you got the Angels and Indians that are completely it would take a long shot. Now, if the Angels were to go on a 10-game win streak like the Yankees, it's a completely different story. But it's not mathematically impossible. It's mathematically possible, but it's going to be really, really tough. But yeah, Yankees right now 2.5 up. So season would end today. How great does this sound? Wild card game, Yankee Stadium, Yankees, Red Sox. I'm in for that. So Yankees keep winning. We're also in contention for the division. Now, yesterday the Rays continue to win, which is upsetting. But Yankees are 4 games back in the division, and we've started to finally create some space against the Red Sox. Red Sox are 6.5 back in the division. Blue Jays 11. So we finally started to create some space against some of the teams behind us. We're 4 back of the Rays right now, which, like I said, it's completely possible that Yankees can still win the division. It's going to take a lot, though. It's going to take some big wins. It's going to take the Rays to start the slump. And as bad as it sounds, Rays got a pretty easy series. They start tonight, or they've got a pretty easy schedule. They go Phillies for 2, then the Orioles, and then you got the Boston for 4 rather, which isn't easy. And then you got Twins for 3, then Boston for 3. Then the Tigers, then it's the Blue Jays, then it's the Tigers, Blue Jays, Marlins, the Cheaters, and then you finish out against the Yankees. So, the Rays' schedule isn't brutal. It's not easy, but it's not anything crazy. Yankees' schedule, I feel like, is maybe even a little bit more easier in September than the Rays are. But, definitely got to watch out for that. And you got to hope that the Rays get on skid. It's the truth, though. Rays lose 5 out of 6. All of a sudden, Yankees were talking about, that's how baseball is. That's how sports are in general. You could go from 5 games up in first place in anything. NHL, you could be 10 points up in first place. And all of a sudden, a week later, you could be 2 points up. If that next team wins 5 of their next 6, like if the Rays lose 5 of their next 6 games and the Yankees continue to roll, I mean, you're talking about the New York Yankees, you're talking about the New York Yankees possibly being in contention to win a division. And I would love for that final series of the season in October to mean something. If that could depend on whether or not you win a division or not, that would be great. That would be awesome. I think it's huge for the Yankees to win a division. As much as we've been playing great, I never feel great about wild card games. It's one game. You win, you're in. You win, you're NLD, the ALDS. You lose, you're done. Like, I never felt great about wild card games because baseball, it is like you could just not have a good game. Like you could you could just have an off day. And I always think, like, what if a team just has a whole as an off day? Like in the end, and during the playoffs, if you have if you win your division, you don't have to play the wild card. You could have an off day game 1, but you still got other games to play. Wild card, that's it. So that's definitely gonna be interesting. But Yankees 4 games back. So watch out for that. And as I said, as much as it's big for the Rays to lose, it's even bigger for the Red Sox to lose. Because the Yankees need to create space, right? Right now we're 2.5 ahead of the Red Sox. Red Sox total 6.5 back from first place. Yankees 4. So we have started to create some space from them. But I would still like to get, if we could find a way to get 4 games from separating us and the Red Sox. Most of that's out of our control because the Red Sox, don't play us up until next time the Red Sox play us is all the way late September. So, a lot of it's out of our control, but we got to control what we can control, and that's going out and trying to get wins. So, 10-game win streak for the Yankees. That's currently the longest win streak in baseball. The longest win streak in baseball is the New York Yankees at 10 games. And, so 10-game win streak for the Yankees and an 18-game losing streak for the Baltimore Orioles. Just goes to show you the tale of two teams. It really does. Overall, 91.6% chance of making the playoffs. We'll look at some of the other leagues. It's crazy. Oakland's got a 23.4% chance of making the playoffs. That's wild. Like they've fallen off a little bit. They're struggling. We got to go play Oakland, but that's something. For a team that was so good and really playing great baseball to now all of a sudden have a lower percent chance of making it than a lot of other teams out there is really something interesting. And now, do the Mariners all of a sudden become a rising contender? It's tough for the Mariners because they don't really play the Red Sox much. Same thing with the Oakland. So it's kind of like a lot of it's out of their control. They just got to find a way to win. Personally, if you're asking me who would I want to play, I think out of just excitement and the rivalry, it would be Red Sox, but the easier competition would be the Mariners. And watch out for them as well. Like I said, there's 3 teams that all have a really fair shot. The Mariners, Oakland, and Red Sox. Red Sox are obviously in. Yankees are up there 2.5 up. Red Sox are in. Oakland's next. Then it's Mariners. Then it's the Blue Jays and so on and so forth. Blue Jays are more on the outside looking in, but the Blue Jays, they could win 5 of their next 6 or even 7 of their next 10, and they could be right back in it. That's how baseball is. So we'll see how it all goes. It's going to be fun, though, down the stretch here. But the Yankees just got to, as I say, control what you can control. Yankees just got to continue to win, and if they continue to win, they'll be all right. All right, so let's get to the MLB and the New York Sports Update. Yesterday, as I just got done talking about, Mariners won, Royals won, Cubs won, Pirates won, Blue Jays won, and Red Sox won. And the Mariners beat the A's as well, so that's a big win. As for today, we got the Yankees, Braves. As I mentioned earlier, Yankees, Braves won yesterday. Yankees won yesterday, 73 to. They moved to 73 and 52 on the season. Don't really need to get into that. Yankees, Braves play again today. I'll get to that in a second. We got the A's, Mariners on the today, as I just mentioned. I am going to give the A's the win. I do believe they're the better team. All I'm saying is the Mariners have are all of a sudden getting a little hot here. Then we have Angels, Orioles. I'll give Angels the win. Diamondbacks, Pirates give Diamondbacks the win. Rays, Phillies give Rays the win. Blue Jays, White Sox give Blue Jays, White Sox the win, actually. No, Blue Jays. Barrios is on the mound. Nationals, Marlins give Marlins the win. Indians, Rangers give Indians the win. Actually, switch it. I'll give Nationals the win, Indians the win. Red Sox, Twins, give Red Sox the win. Cardinals, Tigers, give Cardinals the win. Rockies, Cubs, give Rockies the win. Brewers, Reds, give Brewers the win. Cheaters, Royals, give Cheaters the win. And Padres, Dodgers, I will give Dodgers the win. I'll tell you what, the Padres are really, really struggling. And, it's pretty bad. They went from, being one of the best teams out there to not even being in a wild card now. The Reds took over their place in that National League wild card. The Reds are now the Reds are one game up of the wild card against the Padres. So the Padres right now, if the season went to end today, would not be a playoff team. As crazy as it sounds, they would not be a playoff team. And yesterday got rid of Larry Rothschild, who used to be the Yankees pitching coach. They got rid of him as well. The Padres have had a lot of injuries to their pitching staff. You had Danielson, Lamet, Paddock. You've had a lot of guys that have gone injured. Darvish, so many guys. So you've been missing some key pieces, but their pitching hasn't been good. I mean, for Slam Diego, they've just not been a good team. So it's pretty crazy how their season has turned around. But they play the Dodgers. Like I said, I'll give Dodgers the win. Mets and Giants play today. Mets come in this game 61-63. Giants come in this game 80-44. The Giants got Long on the mound. He's 1-1 with a 5.72 ERA. And the Mets got Tyler McGill on the mound. He's 1-2 with a 3.21 ERA. The over/under for this game is set at 8.5. 70% of people think the Giants win. Give me the Giants. I'll tell you what. Let's see here. So the Tyler McGill has pitched like 3-4 times through this stretch. I feel like you see his name a ton. Yankees Braves also today. Yankees come in this game 73-52. Braves come in this game 68-57. This game comes on today 7:20 p.m. Eastern Time on MLB Network. Network. Yankees got Andrew Heaney on the mound. He's 8-8 with a 5.51 ERA. And the Braves got Charlie Morton on the mound. He's 12-4 with a 3.47 ERA. The over/under for this game is set at 9. And 60% of people think the Yankees will win. They're on a 10-game win streak. Give me the Yankees. And we'll get to fantasy and wrap it up. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say the Yankees are going to lose. They're on a 10-game win streak. Until they lose, and then I'll maybe rethink about it. But the Yankees are on a 10-game win streak. Just keep giving them wins because they keep on getting them. As for fantasy baseball, I'm currently losing 31-19. Today I've got Will Smith, Matt Olson, Whit Merrifield, Austin Riley, Marcus Semien, Carlos Correa, Jake Cronenworth, Christian Yelich, Austin Meadows, Avisail Garcia, Josh Harrison, Odubel Herrera, and Luke Voigt. Gene Segura's on my bench right now. I'm still trying to decide where to put him. Whit Merrifield's been doing very well recently, so I'm not going to sit him. And I was thinking about sitting Austin Riley because he struggled yesterday. He struggled against Baltimore, then struggled again yesterday. I'm still trying to decide what I'm going to do with him. But I might sit Voigt if he's not going to play today. So if Voigt's going to be another sub, I might sit Voigt and put in Segura, which is actually what I'm going to do right now. So I'm going to put Segura in, but if Voigt's in the starting lineup, I'll probably put Voigt in. So Segura's in at the utility. And I got Luis Garcia on the mound today. I'm trying to. I might be picking up another pitcher today to pick up another pitcher today. I was thinking about picking up Dylan Bundy, just because he's not good, but he's playing against Baltimore. I mean they're a terrible team. Someone else. I don't know. We'll see. Tanner Huck is against Minnesota. Not a very good team. There's a lot of other pitchers out there. I might just to get another pitcher that's starting today, but we'll see. But, I like Nestor Cortez. I like him a lot, and he's been good. And I don't want to drop him because I feel like someone might take him and pick him up. My opponent's got nobody pitching today unless if any of his closers pitch. So, right now, as I stand, I got one pitcher. He's got none. Nestor Cortez's next start is projected to be Friday. So if I do drop him today, I could still get him back by Friday. I'll probably pick him up again Thursday or tomorrow, and then whatever happens. But either way, injury update is as followed. Bregman, quadriceps, hamstring. He's had a lot of stuff. Went 3 for 5 with a run scored for AAA Sugarland on Monday. So he's been out for a long time. We'll see if he gets back here. Dylan Carlson still on the IL, no updates on him. And Chris Bassett, no updates on him as well. He's going to get surgery, so he'll be out for a little bit. I don't know when he'll return. Sometime soon, obviously, but I don't know if he'll return the rest of the season. There's a very good chance he returns. Maybe if anything, playoffs. He might not return the rest of this year, but it's good to see that he is on the right track after that scary incident. So we'll see. But yeah, a lot of injury. I mean, I've gone fantasy baseball. There's a lot of injuries. I mean, baseball in general, there's a lot of injuries. I mean, as much as it's not much of a contact sport, there's a lot of just hamstring and strains and pulls, and there's just a lot of that, and it's not much breaks and stuff, but a lot of just hamstrings and pulls and strains, and I mean it's because it's such a stop and go sport. You could be standing for 5 minutes on a field, moving every pitch, but then all of a sudden you get a ball hit your way at 110 miles an hour, and you got to chase that thing down, and it's like now you can see why. That's why so many of these players are so prone to injuries. So fantasy baseball this season, definitely been a lot of movement in the roster and a lot of injuries. I mean, Bregman's been on my IL since June. He's been on my IL now for 2 months. It's really crazy. And I mean, I've been able to get guys in. I mean, right now my IL spots are all filled up. So I'm doing good. But Dylan Carlson, looks like he'll be on his way back soon. Bassett, I don't know what his rest of the season holds for him, but Bregman seems like he should be back eventually soon. But we'll see. So that will do it for the podcast. As always, another good podcast in the books. Yankees, Braves tonight. Yankees go for 11 in a row. And, that'll do it. As always, I'll see you all back here tomorrow. Hope you enjoyed it, and thanks for watching.